Hey guys, two women have been accused of running a sex cult and are going to criminal trial after being charged with forced labor conspiracy. Nicole Daedone is the former CEO of One Taste, a sexual wellness company founded in the Bay Area in the early 2000s. The company promoted female empowerment through orgasmic meditation, where females in the group would be digitally stimulated by whichever male participant they happen to be paired with for that particular session. According to reports, Daedone and her head of sales, Rachel Sherwitz, promised pleasure, liberation, and recovery from sexual trauma, only to force members into sex acts with potential investors and eventually bankrupt both their members and staff. So I know that, there's some people who might look at this and be like, oh my God, that's disgusting and weird. Some of you are like, where do I sign up? I don't know. Whatever a group of consenting adults wants to do in the privacy of their own home is none of my damn business. But in this case, that's where things get real dicey, because the founders, as you dig deeper into this case, they intentionally blurred the lines of consent. Because that's what this is really about. Consent. Because, the reality is you can judge something just because you don't like it, or you don't understand it, or you think it's weird, it's unconventional, and you just don't like it for that reason. But, it's a big world out there. People are into different things. So, you have a group of people who are drawn to this idea of, this is a safe space for me to, be different and daring and explore my sexuality or whatever. I'm around like-minded people. It's a consensual act. Is it? And of course, that's where it gets murky, considering the nature of what you're involved in and the fact that this was pitched as a business. You kind of created an environment that's riddled with ethical landmines. So besides the obvious, all of the forms of abuse that allegedly took place within this company that had been taking place for years at their various satellite centers, here are a few things that really bother me about Nicole Daedone and this whole One Taste situation. Silicon Valley. First, Daedone tries to co-opt this, sacred ancient practice, the acronym OM, to stand for her practice of orgasmic meditation, and uses the startup capital of the world as sort of this backdrop to legitimize her operation and swindle people for millions. And she's not the first. You got Elizabeth Holmes poking people with rusty needles. Then you have Belle Gibson, the Australian Instagrammer, who tells people that they can cure cancer with green juice. Then all of a sudden Apple rolls out the whole pantry app without performing any due diligence. Or they did and they just didn't care. They just saw dollar signs. Daedone is not a medical professional by any stretch of the imagination. Not a therapist, not a qualified counselor. She's not even a tech bro. If I'm in the market for an iWatch, I'll call you. I'm sorry, there's nothing so innovative about what you're doing that you need to create a business model to, charge people thousands of dollars. We're not talking about a $39.99 course. Thousands of dollars for these courses in orgasmic meditation to teach me how to do something that, frankly, I can do at home for free. Celebrity endorsements. Okay, I cannot emphasize this enough. I don't care who Cardi B or Julia Roberts voted for. And Gwyneth Paltrow is not a gynecologist, folks. Poor Gwenny. That woman gets so much hate. But Daedone, like so many cult leaders, or at least ringleaders in these types of schemes, will try to get their Hollywood buddies behind them to endorse them, their product, their whatever the thing is, in the hopes that the general public will just sort of be clueless enough to automatically buy in. But a lot of these celebrities are just so out of touch, just so disconnected from what life is like for the average American. Why should I give you any credence to your position or, opinion just because you're famous? Scientology used Tom Cruise. Keith Raniere of NXIVM even paid the Dalai Lama in an effort to sort of paint himself as this great humanitarian. And Daedone, likewise, tried to boost the legitimacy of her company by getting none other than Gwyneth Paltrow and a Kardashian to endorse One Taste. And here's the thing, I'm not even particularly against this. This is how the world works. You have endorsements, things like this happen. But the idea that I should just automatically buy in, or be impressed, or trust you just because a bunch of celebrities tell me it's cool, doesn't fly. A case of bad actors. Sort of tying back to Elizabeth Holmes and that Belle Gibson character. What bothers me about Nicole Daedone is not that she started a company, or that she's charging money for her services, or that she's pursuing something she's really passionate about. And it's just controversial. People just don't understand it. I applaud anyone who believes in themselves enough to take the risk. You have to take a risk. It may be cliche, but it's true. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. Of course, you're gonna get haters along the way, no matter what you're doing. It's when this confidence crosses into malignant narcissism and abuse of power. Daedone is yet another person who has exploited the coaching industry. Life coaching is one of those things that people are either really into it, or, a lot of people say it's total bullshit. I am a certified life coach. Yes, I got certified several years ago, and I only partially agree with this sentiment that it's kind of bullshitty. I actually wholeheartedly believe that coaching is a powerful, legitimate vehicle for change. Asking yourself effective questions, setting goals for yourself. I mean, really, we got personal trainers and sports coaches. This is not novel. This is not inherently wrong. Just the whole brick and mortar experience just wasn't right for me. On that, some people, a lot of coaches will do one-on-one, but one of my dear friends in Montreal, she worked in the corporate world for many years. She's an executive coach, and she sort of helps people in the office, time management and organizing various tasks. So she's great at what she does. Unfortunately, it is the lack of industry regulations and bad actors who have taken advantage of this and have given the industry a bad name. And Nicole Daedone is just another example of this. So, what Daedone was doing, or her own practice, not my cup of tea. You got people all over the world who do naked yoga, and people who pay other people to spank them, to each their own. But it's this confidence to sort of run with the big dogs that actually is a cover for narcissism and this abuse of power on such a grand scale. It's bad enough if you're hurting one person. One person speaks up, that's bad enough that I was assaulted or something happened to them. But the sheer magnitude of Daedone's operation is what's really unfortunate here. Because again, Elizabeth Holmes, she had an interesting idea. This one little drop of blood could diagnose a range of diseases. She may be nuts, but the idea itself was actually pretty cool if it could have been properly, safely executed. If it was actually viable, she would have revolutionized the medical establishment. But then you find out she's misdiagnosing people, telling them they have cancer. You got tubes breaking, nobody's using PPE. You got Holmes nothing to see here, because I don't want to lose my billionaire investors and my deal with Walgreens. It's just damn, Elizabeth, why did you have to be insane? And for anybody who's watching this going why do you have to focus on the fact that it's a woman? Men do this all the time. That is correct. You also have to ask yourself the question, would you trust Ghislaine Maxwell to babysit your daughter? Unfortunately, we cannot pretend like women are incapable of carrying out something so batshit. In fact, something that was crazy from this article that was published on May 5th, I actually got a newsletter from Cult News 101 about it, was that Daedone's attorney also represented R. Kelly, Bill Cosby, and Harvey Weinstein. Just this all-star criminal lineup. And, she of course maintains her innocence. The courses she offered were entirely consensual, nothing abusive took place, despite all the allegations that things got really bad. So Nicole has actually gone before a jury. She said her piece, and now the jurors have to decide whether or not she is going to get 20 years for this forced labor conspiracy. What are your thoughts? Crazy, kooky sex cult? A good idea, bad execution? Or maybe this is a technique that we teach couples in a private setting under the direction of a trained therapist, and then they go home and they practice it together in the privacy of their own home. Again, if convicted, Daedone faces up to 20 years in prison. Is that sufficient? Is it necessary? Because we're not talking about children, we're talking about adults. Where's the line? Drop a comment. If you would like to become a channel member and gain access to monthly live streams, go ahead and click the join button below. Thanks again for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.